So we did do a lot of pre-treating. We put all of our snow crews on. So what that means is we have 12-hour shifts round the clock. So all of the staff that works in the operations on the airfield are on 12-hour shifts. So they came in and started the pre-treating before anything fell. That helped a little bit. It's always tough when you've got the mix of ice and snow. That's what's really difficult. Snow is easy to manage, especially if it's powdery, because you can blow it off. But when you get that ice mix in there, and then of course the airlines with the de-icing operation also have to watch the ice relative to ingesting it in the engine and stuff. So it made for a very difficult operation. We did yesterday morning, a lot of the flights, a lot of the airlines allowed people to book early without any penalty. So we did put out the word. Yesterday was a very heavy day, so we put the word out to go ahead and book if you could and change your flight plans. A lot of people did that. That was helpful. So we did operate, we probably had 70% cancellations yesterday. We did get a pretty good shift in last night for the overnight, so we were able to operate this morning. This afternoon's a pretty normal operation. While we don't have all the runways open, certainly more are coming online. More of the taxiways have been opened. We do think that the airlines are going to try to operate a full inbound operation tonight. So tomorrow morning we are hoping for a nice outbound operation with that early start. We will see that refreezing tonight. Hopefully no more precipitation, so it's just a matter of refreezing. So we'll have our 24-hour snow call teams working throughout the next couple of days until we get past this freezing weather.
Just amazing. And I was walking through a little bit with Roger, but you're talking about opening up, de-icing those runways, bringing them back online. So that's wonderful vocabulary for you, Rhonda, but what does that actually mean in terms of travelers, of what they don't realize has to happen in order to make those runways safe and make sure the planes are de-iced and are paid? Just walk me through some of that procedure.
And there's so much coordination between the air traffic control tower, the airlines, and the airport. So our responsibility, and we have also a lot of contract vendors that come in, the runways are always the most critical, making sure that we know that airplanes can land safely and take off safely. Then you've got all the taxiways, because once they land or try to take off, they've got to get into the runways. So then we coordinate really closely with the airlines, because the de-icing holdover time is limited. So if they de-ice an airplane and it has to sit there because it can't get to a taxiway to a runway, many times they would have to re-de-ice that airplane. So it's cost effective to try to be as communicative as possible. So there is a lot of coordination, and of course our air traffic control tower coordinates all of the flights departing and arriving. So I think sometimes people just think they come to the airport and why is my flight taking off, or why is it not taking off? But when you have an event like this, there's so much around the safety piece of it that there's a fairly significant communication that has to continue to go on between all those partners.
And let's talk about the delays in terms of, I think I was talking to some people, they're like, I had to sit on the tarmac for an hour and a half. But why would that be something that has to happen, Rhonda? Because you're sitting and waiting and you can't get the exit at the jet bridge clear up. Just explain why it might take close to 90 minutes to pull in safely.
Yeah, and we did see that today on our CCON course. As all of these teams are out here and they're pushing these snow, because you have to get the snow, there's mounds of snow. And we have 2 or 3 of the large snow melters out here that as soon as we try to get some piles, melted, other ones are building up. So, the airplane had landed, and unfortunately it couldn't get into the gate. It landed fine, got to the taxiway, but because of one of the snow piles that have been pushed, it was very difficult. We have a lot of contractors on the field that are taking the snow away, that are melting the snow, that are pushing this, and sometimes, trying to make sure that they realize exactly how much lane is needed for the plane to get by can be challenging. So we did have one of our airplanes today that sat for quite a while after it landed until we could get them into the gate area. So, in an event like this, when it's a large event, things like that are going to happen, unfortunately. So you try to make sure that you can be as coordinated as possible, but there's always going to be, some unfortunate incident that takes a little longer than you like.
I think people just show up to an airport and expect a magic wand to be waved and be like, what do you mean the snow impacted you? It's so crazy. This might be a silly question to you, Rhonda, but the melting of the snow, how does that work from a chemical perspective? Is it a big fire that's turning out there?
So these large snow melters are fairly large vehicles that have heaters inside of them. So you have the dump trucks that dump the snow into them, and then obviously it comes out water on the backside. So you have to be able to make sure that it's near drains, because you don't want that water just flowing out like a lake and freezing over. So you put them, you try and get the snow to areas where there's good drainage, so that as they are melting that, and I think we have 3 different snow melters on the field with our contractor, but if you didn't have that, they're just the amount of dump trucks that would be needed to carry this off to an off-site location would be challenging. So it's just, one of many prongs that go into this. What I will say is that the customers, because this has been a very covered event and we've been talking about it for days, I will say that the travelers have been really good. Most of people have been very understanding and realize that, safety comes first. So that's been good, that there's been so much coverage on it and so much news about it that I think people are very aware. It's not a surprise.
And I was boring Roger with this question a little bit earlier, but is it salt on the runway? Is it de-icing? And Annie was like, Roger was like, Annie, why would we put salts on multi-million-dollar wheels?
Right.
So how do you, like how we salt our sidewalks, how do you make sure that there isn't ice and snow? Obviously that snow melter is huge, but there has to be probably a little extra oomph chemical-wise to make sure that everything is clean and clear.
Right, we can't use salt anywhere on the airfield. We can use it on our sidewalks out front, but we can't use it anywhere on the airfield. So there are different products that we use. There's a urea product, there's other products. So it depends on, a lot of it just depends on the temperature. So some products work where if that temperature gets in the teens or in that 0, that it just can't handle it. There's other products that are more high powered that can handle that freeze. So a lot of it depends. The team is very well versed on the best mixture of those products, which one to use based on the temperatures that are coming, and then is it snow, is it ice, is it a combination, because all of those things go factor in when they try to determine the best amount of chemicals to use and the best mix of chemicals to use. So.
I feel like I'm in chemistry class, I should be taking notes. But let's walk through in terms of what you're seeing delays-wise, cancellation-wise, Rhonda, on Monday. Give me the lay of the land, the way that you've been seeing things go. I'm glad that travelers have been understanding. I think that's probably crucial in a situation like this because it's obviously not just us. Kansas City got hit really hard. St. Louis has been hit really hard. But how are cancellations, delays on a day like this?
This morning we saw quite a few cancellations and we saw quite a few delays this morning. It got better as we got to that noon hour. This afternoon's been actually pretty good. There's far less cancellations this afternoon. Most of the flights this afternoon are operating and the delays are getting less and less. So I think, one of the other challenges is this was a widespread storm system. So it's not just St. Louis having the issues. So, flights couldn't get in last night, not just because of our weather, but some of the weather, whether that was in Ohio or Kansas City or, just a number of locations that were experiencing the same thing we were. So when you've got that many stations affected, that does make it a little bit more difficult. But what I will say is this afternoon we've seen a very good number of flights arriving and departing. And we anticipate again tonight that the airlines are going to try to bring in most of their overnight flights so that we can start out with a good operation tomorrow morning. We'll hope that the weather stays and there is no more precip, and we'll work throughout the night, as I said, with our teams to try and make sure. I mean, the teams have done just a yeoman's job of trying to keep up on the runways. So they'll be here throughout the night to do that, and we'll hope for a good start tomorrow morning. And I think certainly by tomorrow afternoon, we should be seeing a very normal operation. These temperatures are going to stay for a few days. So back and forth, in addition to that, then you have to worry about pipes freezing or busting. You have to worry about the equipment, freezing up as well. So there's a number of other things that, the auto shop is a big piece of this, just trying to make sure the equipment keeps running. So there's a lot of people that are putting their good techniques to use.
I'm sure there's some kind of pun I could make about having a clean slate heading into tomorrow. But
Yeah.
we'll say that for a different day. I want to give that shout out to the crews. Facts and figures wise, Rhonda, how many people are out there de-icing, working ballpark-wise, working yesterday, working today?
Yeah.
I mean, just give us some of those facts and figures in terms of how many people it takes to make this all possible.
Yeah, just for the airport alone, we've probably got 100 of our employees that have been on these 12-hour shifts between auto shop, airfield maintenance, facility, utility workers, electricians, and of course the operations team. So that's well over 100 people that have been on the 12-hour shifts. And then if you take a look at all of our partners out here, so we contract with the snow teams to melt that ice and to haul it off. That's probably another 50 people. And then of course the airlines have, lots and lots of staff as well. So when you think about the number of people, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, But there's probably 500 or 600 people out here trying to keep this operation running when you combine our contractors with our employees and then the airline ramp teams.
Any reroutes that had to happen last night? I know you were saying obviously Ohio was bad, Kansas City was bad, but would you say yesterday that people had to they were coming to St. Louis and they had to get rerouted? I don't know, Amy, they had to go to Des Moines or they had to go to Chicago because we couldn't get them here. Chicago's not great either, but any reroutes or anything like that that happened last night?
I don't think we had any diversions last night that I'm aware of. So obviously we had some canceled flights coming in and some delayed flights. We did see a couple of diversions. We saw at least one international diversion today that came here. I was checking to see if it had left yet, but the team wasn't sure if it had departed. They were trying to check with the airline. But I do not think that we had any diversions. I think it was coordinated well enough that they may have been slowed en route so that, the air traffic control could slow them down a little bit until we knew that it was good to land.